last week, I talked about how House Republicans voted to repeal the Affordable Care Act and replace it with the American Health Care Act, which would allow insurance companies to discriminate against people with pre-existing conditions, and it also guts Medicaid, and it ensures that the wealthy get a huge tax break. So once they passed this bill, they decided to celebrate and throw a beer bash. However, once they had to face their constituents and explained why they voted for this disastrous bill, I think some of them, maybe some of them, might have realized that this celebration came a little bit too soon.
You are mandating people on Medicaid except dying. You are making a mandate.
No one wants anybody to die. You know, that line is so indefensible. Nobody dies because they don't have access to health care.
Nobody dies because they don't have access to health care. So that was Representative Raul Labrador, and what he said was so incredibly idiotic that a room full of his constituents laughed in his face. And that was the appropriate response, because what else do you say to someone that says something so absurd that he's just not connected to reality? But the problem is that if you're being laughed at by your constituents, you'd think that reality would have hit him like a ton of bricks and that he would have come to the realization that he's just not in touch with his constituents and he should probably resign. Because if you are that detached from the struggle of everyday Americans, well, you're just incapable of representing them. You can't represent them, and your job is to represent your constituents. So if you can't do that, then you should resign. But rather than resigning or thinking that he needs to, think twice about how he represents his constituents, well, this jackass subsequently announced that he would be running for governor in Ohio. Good luck with that, Raul, because that crowd that laughed at you was just a small sample size of what would happen, but on a larger scale, on the state level, if you did in fact decide to run for governor. And Raul here isn't the only Republican that's being laughed at by his constituents.
If you got an issue getting Social Security, if you got an issue getting Medicare, if you got an issue anything to do with the federal government, stop in, tell us what it is. And I always tell folks, I can't guarantee you that we're going to get the result you want. I can guarantee you we will go fight for you. So whether you're a veteran,
It's like they're stand-up comedians at this point. I care for you guys. I'm fighting for you. That's why I voted for a bill that would strip away your health care and kill some of you, but you know what? I'm fighting for you. Ask me if you need something. I mean, it's just a joke. Now, that was Representative Rod Blum. And with friends like Rod Blum, I mean, who needs enemies? Now, getting laughed at by his constituents was basically the cherry on top of the shit Sunday of a day he was having, because earlier that day, before he attended this town hall, he had an interview with a local reporter that made him look like a hypocrite, and then he quickly shut off the interview because he just couldn't deal with it.
So one thing that's a little less typical is you want to see IDs for this. Can I ask why that decision was made?
Because we want people from the 1st District to be at our town halls. We don't want people from outside of the 1st District. We don't need people from Chicago there, or Des Moines there, or Minneapolis there. I don't represent them. They should go talk to their representatives at their town hall meetings. I don't know why they would want to be at one of my town hall meetings to start with.
Well, I think some would make the case that you represent all Iowans. The decisions that you make impact all Iowans. So shouldn't all Iowans have a voice at the table, or at least have the option to?
I don't represent all Iowans. I represent the 1st District of Iowa. That'd be like saying, shouldn't I be able to, even though I live in Dubuque, go vote in Iowa City during the election because I'd like to vote in that district instead.
Would you still take donations from a Republican in Iowa City? We haven't even, we just started.
This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous.
He's
going to sit here and just badger me.
We just asked why you wanted to do the interview. That was it. Congressman, come on. Take a seat. Congressman, I insist. Let's talk about.
Take donations from.
Come on, Congressman. Let's talk about the issues here.
Unbelievable. So what you just saw was a bad person who did a bad thing, who wants absolutely no accountability. He wants, like all other Republicans, to be able to screw you over and get away with it. Don't even question him. Well, Rod, I hate to break it to you, but you don't just represent everyone in your state, you represent all of us, because let me remind you, you're in the United States Congress. So what you do, the way that you vote, affects all of us. So when you voted to gut Medicaid and give a tax cut to your wealthy donors, that affects all of us. People from all different states are now vulnerable and may lose their health insurance. So please, spare me. You know, the reason why you didn't want people to attend your town halls and why you wanted IDs checked at the door was because you didn't want more people to criticize you than we're already going to, because you knew there was going to be hell to pay for your vote. Now, at a town hall in Oregon, Representative Greg Walden, who is the lone Republican, not for long because we will be voting him out, well, what he did was he posed a question that I don't know what he was expecting would be the answer, but his constituents were very vocal as to what type of healthcare system they supported.
How many here want a single-payer government-run system?
Yes.
Hell yeah!
Yeah, exactly. Before we're dead.
So he had to face his constituents in the liberal blue state of Oregon because he voted for a bill that would kill people and strip health insurance away from millions of Americans. And the question that he asked was prompted by someone who yelled out saying that she wants Medicare for all. So he asked the question, how many people are in favor? And then you saw the response. Now, after that, he quickly changed the subject because he didn't want to talk about Medicare for all, because obviously his donors would not like him doing that. But that wasn't the end of it, because Tom Reed of New York was also castigated by his constituents at a town hall.
The latest poll has a 17% approval for the bill that you just voted for. Quinnipiac had a poll last month, had a 17% approval for this bill. How can you say you're representing your constituency when only 17% of the U.S. population is supporting this?
And that's fair. That is one of the reasons I do these town halls, that we try to get out there, people know where we stand on the issue, and to have a conversation. We are standing for all 717,000 people we represent. And I believe, and we have been clear when we believe, that the policies of going down big government, single-payer type of health care are not the outcomes that I support, that we want to advocate.
What about we support?
A market, a state-based system.
Now, I don't know if this came from the same town hall, but there was another one of Tom Reed's constituents that asked him about his stance on healthcare, and she perfectly explained why a Medicare for all single-payer healthcare system is essential in the United States. And this was by far my favorite clip from a town hall throughout the week.
There is no profit in single payer. We have to get the profit. Yes. And that is why you're called the VA. Talking about tax exemption and property tax relief. These are human beings. We have bodies, we have minds. We are not property taxes. That's how you boil it down. We are not money. We are a nation.
And I appreciate your belief that you believe the government could take care of this for all of us in America.
The government don't take care of me. They just do the bookkeeping. The insurers do bookkeeping for a profit on your back, on your back, on your back. Right. The VA does bookkeeping on mine, my behalf. I'm a veteran. Everyone here deserves single-payer health care now.
So that town hall was amazing, and really it's a snapshot of what's occurring in town halls across the country, because if Republicans think that they can gut healthcare and get away with it with no repercussions, they're completely wrong. We are in a political time where people are paying attention, people are motivated, and they're not going to allow you to screw them over and get away with it. So if you are going to vote for a bill that's disastrous, that only 17% of the American public supports, then you're going to have to explain yourself.
This is what you did to us. In this district, you do not listen, but your actions affect the entire country. There is no one in this country that your actions are not going to affect. So everyone's voice is important. And when 17% of the population said, don't do it, you did it. This man is correct when he said that you brought it back from death. Ryan said it's dead. Trump said it's dead. And you said, nope, I got a better idea. Last time in Waretown, you told us that you went to Congress to fix problems, that you didn't want to decorate a chair, that you didn't want to choose between being an obstructionist and I want to get something done. That was the keenness of your intellect, that you only had two choices in front of you. Don't be an obstructionist or make something better. Well, there was a horrible bill available to you from a horrible group of people who believe that we don't deserve health insurance. They have said it on TV, on camera. Well, then you're not paying attention. And that's your responsibility. They said it. They said that if we get sick, it's our fault. These are the people that are in your party, that you're working with. These are the people that came up with a plan that's going to kill millions of people. The CBO scored it. 24 million people off of health insurance. And they called that choice. Like we're choosing not to have health insurance if we can't afford it. That is insulting. That is detrimental to the mental health of us as a nation. But all of this, all of it, totally misses the point. Healthcare is not a good. You do not buy health insurance the same way you buy a car, the same way you buy a house. Those are already complicated things to do. You got to know about cars, you got to know about houses, at least a little bit, but there are reasonable ways to be educated on those things and make reasonable choices. I work in healthcare, sir. It is complicated. The only one that doesn't believe that it's complicated is an orange-haired buffoon sitting in the White House. And you're working with him to take something that he doesn't understand, that he won't be responsible for, because he's going to be fine. You're working with him, you're working with Ryan, you're working with people that don't care about us. If you want to make something better, you could have made the ACA better directly. You could have made sure that all the funding that you're saying that we need right now, just put it in there. Introduce a bill. Show me what you're made of. Show me that you know what's going on, that you can actually do something instead of siding with people that clearly, by the virtue of their own words, do not care. They want their money back. That's their version of compassion.
If you are one of the individuals that attended a town hall to call out your congressman or congresswoman for voting for this disastrous bill, thank you, because you are part of the true resistance movement that will catalyze real progressive reform in America. It's time we move towards a Medicare for All system, and this vote is indefensible. So every single Republican in the House of Representatives that voted for the American Health Care Act, they need to be named, they need to be shamed, and most importantly, their asses need to be voted out of office come 2018, because that was indefensible. And Americans are quickly illustrating and sending a huge message to our elected officials that we're not going to take it anymore.
Support this podcast by joining the independent progressive media revolution today at humanistreport.com.